Yeah, you. It's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. This week, they're dealing up a whole bunch of information on money. Yeah, the moolah. Let's listen in on the conversation.
Hi.
Eddie.
I was distracted by all the clapping.
I know, yeah.
Episode 2. We made it to episode 2. Congratulations.
That was just dedicated to you, mate. For
What's it called?
I can't. Is it La Tarantella?
Tarantella.
It's a La Tarantella. You sing it.
No,
Go on.
you did
Just do it.
an amazing job.
No, do it. Go.
Okay, enough.
Very good. Congratulations. What are we talking about?
We're talking about money this time.
That rabbit hole.
I know. There's so much we could talk about, isn't there?
Yeah.
But let's just kick it off. What do
And
you want to start with?
I think we should keep it simple.
Okay, let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Well, what I think we should do today is just kind of talk simply
Yeah.
about like all of the bits and pieces involved in, I suppose, in people's concepts about money. Because I think people think that money is an outside thing
Yeah.
that they have to work towards.
Yeah.
And I think that they don't get, and this is, I'm not talking about them as in this elusive them, it's me, because back in the day I didn't get that money was about me. Like it's got nothing to do with out there, it's got to do with me and how I view myself and my mindset, and that makes the world of difference in terms of money.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those ever elusive dangling carrots that sometimes we can all get caught up in chasing, and I remember there was a couple of, I spent a bit of time in the 90s trying to work the whole money thing out because again, I just saw it as a trap, and
What do you mean a trap?
well, it was a trap. It was like everybody was trying to get it,
trying to
get money,
and caught in that whole thing.
yeah,
Of,
and then everybody was pretending that they had money. I mean, lots of people that pretend that they have money, and then what I found was the people who actually had money, you'd never know that they had money. It was really, really crazy. It was really crazy. So I just wanted to know how this whole money thing worked, and what I found, and I know we've discussed many times, is that money is intrinsically linked to self-worth.
100%.
And people want to build their net worth without having a congruent self-worth.
But that's such a... So just that concept alone, right, is like
Because
a massive thing. Because like before I did any of this work, like... that would have just sounded like does not compute. What does that even mean?
But
How would you explain that?
It's the cause and effect thing, isn't it? When the money turns up, then I'm going to feel enough. That's cause and effect.
Yeah.
When the boyfriend turns up, then I'll feel love.
Waiting for the outward to make me feel something on the inward.
So the problem with outward influence is that it creates a lack of inward fluency or clarity on who we are. Yeah. So what happens is that when we chase something on the outside, when we're outwardly influenced, we're inwardly lost. So when people are running around out here trying to get the money, trying to get the job, trying to get the deal, they're caught in the ever elusive dangling carrot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When in actual fact, the first, anybody who wants to be, or anybody who has built a life that you would consider to be a dream, the way in which they've done it is the first thing they did was they got the money thing out of the way. You have to get the money thing out of the way because money causes such a distortion of emotion inside of people. It messes with how they feel. It messes with their dreams and aspirations. It messes with their capacity to have the life that they want because they live in the land of cause and effect, which is this whole Newtonian thing, which I'm not going to get into. But it's this whole Newtonian thing.
Okay, but I get that, but I've just got to play devil's advocate here because, we've taught money for many years now, right? And, I had a situation recently where somebody close to me had an opportunity to, I suppose, take a risk with money. And I don't mean take a risk, but over here was a stable job, secure, but very much not, what's the word, like... she would be overworked. She was going to be overworked, underpaid.
Oh, yeah.
They were messing her around.
I remember this person.
Yes. And then over this side over here, there was an opportunity to, like, take a risk, to step out on the edge a little bit. And you're sitting there saying, oh, just get the money out of the way. Yeah. But she's got kids to feed. Like, she's got, like, how do you marry that up? Like, what would you say in that situation?
Well, money is a very simple mechanism to master, and if there's just if we just give one principle from here, and the one principle we give is the first two principles of mastering
so
money.
We're going to give one principle, but we're going to give two.
But it's just two principles because they're intrinsically linked, right? The one principle
it's
is two
okay,
principles.
I'm making a joke.
Anyway, if you so the first thing is that when your money comes in, the first thing you must do with your money every time it turns up, and of all of the wealthy people that I've spent time with, they all do the same thing. So again, there's an intrinsic link. There's a common thread between how wealthy people behave with their money, and there's a common thread between how poor people behave with their money. And the common thread amongst all wealthy people is the first thing they do with their money when they get it is they pay in order of importance. So the first person that gets paid is them. And the first place they put their money is into their savings. So they save. They have an immortal savings account that is designed to create an emotional cushion, so they never have to worry. If anything goes wrong in the future, you've got money there, so you don't need to panic. So it's about eradicating emotion around money. People who don't have money are emotional around money. People who have money have mastered their emotions around money.
So you're saying, which is what we teach, is that when the first thing you do with your money is you save, you're reducing the emotion you have around money.
Yeah. Because if and the other thing is that there's something really cool starts to happen as you start to save. Is that every time you open your bank, most people open their bank account, right? And the thought of looking in at their bank account is, my God. They open it up and they're like, their adrenal glands release and they're like, they want to soil themselves rather than look at their computers, and that's crazy. That tells you how money has your emotions mastered. If that is occurring, that is why you don't have anything.
Right.
So if you're opening your bank account and you're watching every week your savings increase, what are you going to feel? You're going to feel grateful. You're going to feel like you'll start to feel this sense of calm. You'll start to see it build, and then you get inspired about building it more. Does that make sense? Now, something happens inside of you when that occurs. And what happens inside of you is that your self-worth starts to increase. You start to feel...
Because you're watching your money grow.
Yeah. So, and you're feeling appreciative. So where we appreciate money, it tends to grow. You understand? And when there's no money in there, you're depressed. You understand? So when you're building your savings, you cannot build your net worth without building your self-worth. And you can, and spiritually, when I talk about spiritually, I talk about what you broadcast, how you are as a person. When you increase your net worth, you spiritually grow. So increasing your net worth is intrinsically linked to your spiritual growth.
But just explain how that works then for people, because when you're looking at the money grow, right, you have to, your emotions have to match the growth of your wealth is what's happening, right? So as you're watching your money grow, then as that is increasing, you're also feeling more
whole, more awake, more aware, more
worthwhile.
grateful, more worthwhile. Like you feel appreciative of yourself.
And the work you've done to get to that point.
So you can't build financial appreciation without building personal appreciation. Does that make sense? So you appreciate yourself more, and you're less likely to blow it and give it away. You might the first time you might blow a bit of it.
I remember I did that. The very first time we studied this, in that first 6 months, I think it was, I built some cushion, then I got emotional, and then I went, I'm just going to spend my savings, and it was the worst thing I could ever do, and it was the best thing I did.
Yeah, it's the best thing you did because you'd never did it again.
I've never done it again.
Yeah, and it's the worst thing you did because you kicked the crap out of yourself because you did. And it doesn't matter what you bought, because you know that thing that you bought...
I was paying off bills, though,
Oh, were you?
Because you think, I'm not going to be able to have the money. Where else am I going to get it from? And so the whole emotion of feeling like they were more important than me. I realised this later.
Well, that's what the masses do.
Exactly.
The masses make the bills
later.
company more important than themselves.
Totally.
It's one of the sacred sins of supply.
And instead of watching my money grow, I made them more important than me. I paid them off instead of finding a clever, different way of doing it.
Well,
and like I said, because I did that, I won't ever do it again. But it makes sense then, I suppose. And what we're saying there is that as you're watching it grow, you start to appreciate yourself more. So you're saying back to the situation. We'll have to get to number 2 in a minute. But back to the situation we were talking about before, when you're saying money just takes care of itself.
Yeah.
You're saying when we organise our finances and when we organise it in accordance with the highest value and in accordance with what we should be paying first, which is ourselves.
That's right.
Then money actually just takes care of itself. Yeah. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. Money, and it just comes and it just turns up in lots of different ways, shapes and forms that you could never predict.
Yeah.
And the beauty about it is that we get out of cause and effect. When you start to cause the effect, right? So there's a difference between, when the money turns up, then I'll feel enough. Now, the point about it is that you have to actually feel enough before the money will turn up.
That's a big one for
now. If you come from a
lineage,
of poverty mentality, right? If you come from a lineage of poverty mentality, you have to understand that this concept challenges the shit out of people because suddenly they realize, wow, I have a loyalty to this poverty mentality that I come from, and my objective now is I have to shift. I have to let go of that loyalty. But you have to understand, the lineage that you come from. The one thing that those people would most want you to do in your life is succeed. So you have to match the frequency of success and broadcast that. And once you start to get this link, okay, when I feel appreciative, more money tends to turn up. Yeah. When I feel appreciative, more people want to hang out with me. Yeah. When I feel appreciative, more people want to buy my product. Yeah. When I feel appreciative, more people want to buy my service. Yeah. So therefore, all I got to do is match the frequency of how I am inside with the success that I want to achieve. Now, that's causing the effect. Now, that's no longer, we're out of classical laws here, we're into quantum laws, and we're living in the land of, okay, we create our reality from the inside out.
So what that actually says, though, is that everybody's reality that has been created, including our own, has been created from that place. So
everything.
Yeah. So that means is that if we want to shift that, we have to shift this in here rather than try and work out and say, if the money comes, then I'll feel good enough.
Yeah, because people live in a world where they see buildings go up and they think everything's happening on the outside. Does that make sense? They watch their world get created out here, but that building was someone's internal thought.
Yes.
That makes sense? Without an internal thought and somebody's vision pulling architects and designers and engineers together, that vision, once you have a vision big enough, people want to participate. But that vision occurred on the inside, not on the outside. But the masses are caught in the illusion that I got to make it work out here. No, you have to make it work in here. So that's why this first step of learning, putting money into a bank account first up, not the bills company, not the rent, not the mortgage, not the food. Take care of all that later.
Or the kids.
Which is very stereotypical, especially because that's bred into us. Yeah. As long as the children are all right, I'll be okay. and the point about that is you don't get to put that on your kids.
Yeah, because they end up feeling guilty because they feel like that their parents gave up their lives for them.
Yeah. Well, and why do you think so many teenagers get shitty at that point in time?
Totally.
When they go from that 14 to 15, and then because life happens in lots of 7. 0 to 7, we're building our neural pathways. 7 to 14, we're starting to realize that we are separate human beings. 14 to 21 is where we cut the apron strings. Why is it around about that age that our kids start to rebel and get angry and resentful of us? It's because they're trying to make that separation, but also because they feel as if the parents gave up their whole life for them. That's literally parenting 101. Is you've got to take care of yourself first because your kids mimic what you do.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole other podcast.
Like we could talk about that for 3 weeks.
I'm not going to jump into that
rabbit hole.
But I can tell you now, your kids are doing what you do. And then if you're like, I want my kid to have this amazing life. Well, if you want your kids to have an amazing life, you need to have an amazing life.
Yeah.
I want my kids to travel the world. Well, you need to travel the world because they, otherwise they just get to a point where they feel you're a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dive into that rabbit hole. I promise I won't go down there. Anyway, but the point about it is that we have a moral obligation to be, to create a reality from the inside out, to be grateful for what we've got, to build our self-worth, because you worked for that money. The bills company didn't work for that money. The gas company didn't work for that money. The bank didn't work for that money. You worked for that money. So the first person that must get acknowledged is you every single time. And if I sit you in front of Gates, if I sit you in front of any of the greatest, the wealthiest, Zuckerberg, who do you think they pay first? They pay themselves. Because they understand that they're number one. The vision came from them.
And I can hear people's thoughts in the background.
I can hear gears going.
And people
This
going,
goes against
but I only
everything."
get paid such a minimal amount. How can I do
Doesn't
that?
matter.
But the thing is not the amount, it's the principle of doing it. So it's not about putting hundreds of dollars aside or putting the whole pay packet aside. Even if it's only 5 cents.
Yeah.
5 cents is what goes in there.
Yeah.
And it goes in regularly every single time you get paid.
Yeah. I got that great story about that young girl in my audience.
Well, let's tell the second one.
Okay.
Let's tell what the second step is, then you can tell that story.
So step number 2 is you must pay yourself.
So step number 1 is technically pay yourself,
save.
but it's saving, so it's paying yourself kind of in the future. It's helping your money make you more money.
Yeah.
And step 2 is paying yourself now. It's for personal spending.
Yeah.
So you don't spend it on the dogs, the cats, the kids, the education, the partner, anything. It's for you to do something just for you, to take the emotion out of you buying yourself a new dress, a new pair of shoes. Yours all goes on shoes, doesn't it?
Yeah. All shoes. Look,
All
I
shoes.
always have.
People on audio can't see that, Mitch.
Can they not?
Just so you
They're
know.
sexy shoes.
Yeah, I bought you them, but that's
Oh, you
another
did
story.
too,
I did
didn't
too.
you?
It was a Christmas present. I've lost the plot.
I think you were talking about Christmas presents.
No, we weren't. We were talking about not spending that money on anything other than yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's about rewarding yourself now for the job that you've done, right?
Well, I mean, the first thing you have to understand is that, there's a great fable-y statement out there, as much as fable equates to a lie, but there is some truth in it, and it is that charity starts at home, and you have to understand, without you, the vision doesn't occur, and you must reward yourself in terms of your lifestyle also. So when you pay yourself, and I can hear people saying, when I get the pay rise, then I'm going to start saving, and we'll just ram it home again. It's not about the amount. It's about the principle. The fact that you're starting to implement a principle that rewards you first. And so I had this young woman. She was brought to see me, and she came from a pretty it was a pretty dire situation. I won't go too into it. And she knows I talk about this story. It's cool. She's okay with it. But she came from a pretty dire situation, and her parents brought her to see me. She was very, very Australian, like really Australian. And she was a single mom. She had a young little boy. And the young little boy needed special education, he needed special care. Yeah. And when she came to see me, she was suffering from there was something going on inside of her mindset and how she saw herself. And what I noticed with this kid was one of the main issues was self-worth, that she had zero self-worth. And I remember I had her in Relationships in You, and we were in the program, and it was on I think it was the last day, and I wanted to be able to get her to build her self-worth, so I knew I had to tackle her net worth. And I mean, she's a single mom, and I remember saying to her, okay, I'm going to give you, I'm saying to the talking to the audience, but talking to her, it was one of the many, and I'm there and I'm talking to her, but I'm talking to the audience. I said, okay, I want to teach you guys a principle. I said, I want you to pay yourself in the first 2 steps of when your money comes in. I want you to pay yourself. And I said, you have to start to learn to put yourself first. And her hand, like it was on cue, her hand shot up in the air like this. And she goes, and I said, yep. She goes, now she's very Australian. She goes, mate. And I'm like, yep. She says, I'm a single mum, with a son. I get paid $385 a fortnight. And I said, right. I said, so what do you mean? She said,
at least your Australian accent's better than your Italian accent.
Is it?
Just saying.
I'll do my Italian accent better. She said, I can't pay myself anything, mate. It all goes on my son. And I'm like, really? And I said, okay, can you pay yourself $10? And she went, no. And I said, okay, can you pay yourself 10 cents? And she went, don't get fucking smart, mate. The whole audience went, and I said, no, I'm not getting smart. I said, I just want to know, can you pay yourself 10 cents? And she went, yes. I said, okay. So I kept driving her north of 10 cents until we got to a point where she couldn't pay any more. And we literally narrowed it down to $2.85. And I said, okay, every time you get paid, you're to pay yourself $2.85. You must do that. And that $2.85 is for you. Whether it's for a bottle of water or a cup of coffee, it doesn't matter. It's not about the amount, it's about the principle. Of course, I met her 6 years ago. She walked into my office with her son, who was like perfectly normal, sitting there, and I had no idea who she was. I had no idea who she was.
She
and
looked
she said,
heaps different.
That's right. She said, you don't remember me? And I'm like, no. She said, well, I'm this lass from back here. And I'm like, right. She goes, listen, I just wanted to drop in and say, I just wanted to say thank you. She said, because I have a fantastic husband now. We're just buying our second property. He works up north, and also I'm able to get my son educated. And for me, it was really, really humbling, that she had turned her life around like that. But she did it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the message for anybody that's out there. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're following the principle that builds your self-worth, that every action you take with your money, every action you take with your money is building who you are, is making you greater, is making you feel more appreciative, because money is not something that should make you feel frightened, because it's an inanimate object. You know what I mean? It's an inanimate object. It's not something that should make you feel frightened. It's something that is there to help you live the life that you want to live, this life that you've been given. You have to understand, you're a soul here inside this extraordinary thing, and it's yours. You're creating it. Everything that's out there is just happening in here, and if whatever you create out here happens dependent on the amount of gratitude and grace that you have for your life.
And I mean, that's a message that we give for every area of your life, but it's very true for money. Money is just matter, and matter operates in a particular way, and if you learn how that works and how shifting your mindset affects the outer world, you can transform everything.
I mean, how many people do we see get their kids to do it?
Oh, heaps.
And their kids are asking for pay rises. And
it's so
it's really
good.
Cool, right?
We just had you were actually out of the room because you didn't hear some of the stories, but a couple of the guys were talking, because when I was running through the wealth principles with some of the guys, they were saying my kids get a certain job sheet now, and they get paid for their normal everyday stuff, but then they start to question how much they're getting paid. They start to think about how much money they're earning. They start to think about how they operate in the world with money. There was 3 particular ladies who'd spoken to me about doing the principles with their kids. And what I love about that is that at a young age, kids are starting to understand that money is just a vibration game at the end of the day. It's got nothing to do with what's happening out there. It's got everything to do with what's happening in here.
One of the things I'm just thinking about there is why is it that we teach so many people this stuff, and only we can measure. We've analytics that will literally measure the amount of people that actually take it and do something with it
and implement it fully.
And so we see story after story after story. But I think it's important to understand that you can't build your self-worth in the area of your net worth and so you cannot build on your high self-worth without also contributing to your low self-worth.
Yep.
Because people subconsciously know that they will build their self-worth in building their wealth, but it's also going to bring up the areas that they have low self-worth in.
Correct.
But this is why they don't do it, because they
see that it's going to affect other things.
It's going to affect both.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
In
both ways.
Yeah, totally.
So as much as they want the magic of being able, well, why don't you go and do it? Because they don't feel that they have inside of them what is necessary to be. You cannot build your net worth without contributing to your low self worth. Because as you build your net worth, you're going to see that there's areas that you need to tune up.
Yep.
You're going to see that there's areas where you need to become congruent, and you have to understand those areas, that you've got to work on all of it. Nothing happens in halves here. Nothing happens in halves. Everything happens in whole.
And then the other thing is that one of the things that we notice as well is the reason that people don't want to or feel a little bit of pressure in building their net worth in terms of money is because how they perceive they're going to be taken by those around them.
Yeah.
How they see themselves in relation to everyone else in terms of money. They feel that they don't want to let people behind, leave people behind, or other people feel like they they're going to be seen as greedy. So their money mindset is attached to how they see themselves in their world, or in relation to the people around them.
Yeah, and I think that in terms of that, whatever you perceive you're going to get rejected for in terms of building your money and your wealth and taking control of your life, own it. If you're greedy, everybody's greedy. Own the parts of yourself that you don't want to own. You're.
This is that whole you can't get rich in halves. You can't get rich collecting coins that just have one side. People want to just be one way and expect that they're going to get wealthy. It's about owning all of who they are, and understanding that the people around them can't be pissed off without actually, learning something themselves. Yeah.
And as we build our self-worth, we affect our world, And the truth about it is, we're at it. It's an extraordinary time at the moment, there's this real shift in consciousness around the world. People are really, really waking up. There's huge, massive changes in terms of governments. Yeah. There's a lot going on at the moment.
So what would you say, we're probably wrapping up here very soon, but what would you say about the people who go, you know what, you guys, you're talking about money. Money doesn't make the world go round. Money's not that important. Money's, people who just poo-poo the whole money idea and anybody who's trying to get wealthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What would you say to those people? I mean, I know what I'd say, but
I think that my objective is not to change their position on things.
Of course not.
My objective is to say that there's perhaps there's more to you than that, and if we've pressed that button for you and that button on you, maybe this is the cue for you to stop and go, well, why am I responding like that? And is this why am I behaving like that? Why am I responding like this? Why would I live in the land of, we're meant to do everything for free? And because we don't live in that land. I mean, money is an energy exchange. It was created by life, the universe, God, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want.
We'll call it Barry today.
We call it Neville.
Okay, Neville.
Barry Neville. But I mean, money is an energy exchange, and it was, the universe only creates things that stand the test of time. And so money is just a currency of love. It's an exchange of love and appreciation.
So if somebody's really feeling that pull about not wanting to own that part of themselves, then perhaps they're not wanting to own the part of themselves that wants to be appreciated.
Yeah, and you're enough.
Yeah.
You're enough. The quicker we all wake up and get that we're enough, the quicker we're going to have a shot.
Yeah,
I think that's going to give us a chance.
And at the end of the day, it's not about money, and I think that's how we started this whole thing in the first place. It's actually got nothing to do with money. It's about living your life and living your vision. Because when you have a vision that just pulls at you, that is just, this is who I am, this is what I want to achieve, this is the person that I want to be.
Yeah.
When you have that, you will let nothing get in the way of you achieving those dreams. And therefore, what happens is that money becomes, like you said, it's a no-brainer. It just comes.
Just get it out of the way.
It just comes. You just organise it. Don't let it get in the way.
Yeah. Don't let that be the thing that stops you from fulfilling your dreams.
Yeah.
Don't let that be the thing that actually tells you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember we were at one of our seminars in Adelaide, and we'd not been there for a few years, and one of the guys came up to us and said, when I first came to you guys, money was just such a massive issue. Now it's the least of my worries.
Yeah.
And that's what I love to hear, because that means that you've got everything focused on what it is you're here to do.
Yeah.
And that's what money's all about. It's it's like a tool to help you to fulfill what it is you want to fulfill. Cool.
Yeah. Love this one.
Yeah. High five, brother. All right, we're done. Do you have what are we doing next time? We're doing relationships. We're talking well, I've just made that up. So we'll just talk about relationships because I said so.
TTF.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.